Hey folks, hope you're having a wonderful day. It is Friday, you have made it to the end of your week, congratulations. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. We are on the way to 12,000 subscribers. This year, my overall aim is to get to 15,000 subscribers. If I can do that by December, then we are doing extremely well. So hopefully, if you're new here, you can help me on the journey to do that. If you also like what I do, Composite Games is available down below. Use the promo code Northern Exile at checkout to get yourself some lovely, shiny new models and 5% off your order. And also, the last thing, a bit of housework before we start, is we have a merch store. It is down below. There are lots of promo codes down there, so if you want some merch with lots of funny slogans on them to do with the channel, and you want to show some love for what I do here on the channel, and you want something concrete in your hands to say that you've got something, a cap, a hoodie, a t-shirt, loads of cool stuff, and the link is down below. Have a little look. All the promo codes are on the site. They're ready to use for like 10% off your order and things like that. So, let's get started, shall we? Let's have a little look here at what we're doing. Hobby Nightmares. Oh, it's a long one today. Well, a long story. I'm going to try and keep the video to a reasonable degree, because it's I'm very busy today, but let's get on with it. So, Tiz says, "Greetings and salutations, Mr. Exile. My name is Tiz. Feel free to call me this too. My apologies for any mistakes in grammar or orthography, as I'm a native German speaker, and English is my third language after Dutch. No problem, man. Also, the email is down below. It's the Hobby Nightmares email down below if you want to send in a Hobby Nightmare. I'm writing to you with a short story about my first visit to a Warhammer store in the Netherlands today. To celebrate my 29th birthday on Monday, happy birthday, man. One year until a big 3-0. Hope you're dreading it. My mother decided to take me to a Warhammer store today, which is a bit over 100 kilometers away, because she knows that I quite like painting the insanely small little figurines, as she likes to say. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't realise how lucky they are to have a Games Workshop or a hobby store relatively nearby. Do you know what I mean? That's an amazing thing. That's a really awesome thing. In fact, I always throw these things into the ether of Hobby Nightmares because I know it's going to get ears and traction. I'm thinking of doing a 10th edition invitational tournament based in Liverpool over the summer, a one-day thing, and it'll be like a combat patrol tournament, so much smaller armies, you know, and then we all go out for drinks later afterwards, you know, that kind of a thing. I'll put it in the Discord later, see if people are wanting to do it. Anyway, which was really awesome of her, as we don't see each other that often anymore after her surviving breast cancer a few years back. Well, man, you treasure your mother. If she's a survivor of breast cancer, man, make sure you realise how lucky you are to have her around. I know a lot of people who don't have their mothers or dads around, and they miss them dearly, so make sure that you look after them. So, we took the trip across the border from Germany to the Netherlands to go shopping. Now, of course, we don't know if the guy at the store had a bad day, got kicked in the plums on his way to work or something, but neither me nor my mother have ever felt this unwelcome in any store. As we approached, the owner was outside, priming some artillery. My hello, and the question of if it'll be Cadia or something, as a paint job, was answered with a and nothing else. Oh no. No hello, nothing. Inside the shop, the guy was constantly monitoring us closely, giving us the feeling that we were suspected to no doubt steal something as soon as he looked away. Looking at us with a facial expression that basically translated to, "Just get the hell out of here already." The only other times he spoke words to us instead of grunts, to me, were when he asked, are you looking for something? In Dutch, of course. I told him I was looking for some orcs to maybe start with Blood Bowl, to which I got the reply of, not in, you gotta order those, accompanied with a slight eye roll, and then annoyed, yeah, when I asked for a look of the mini of the month as I was paying for my small items that I still wanted to buy. Dude. This is the... Alright, so, here's part of the reason that... One of the main difficult things of running a games workshop or running any store in this kind of a situation, one of the most difficult parts of your job is having empathy all day, every day, all the time. It's not easy. And I know it's not easy, right? I know sometimes you have a bad day. Sometimes things just aren't going right. You've got stuff going on at home. And those are the really, really hard days because people coming into your store, you don't know where they're coming from. They may be seeing your store as a real kind of refuge from outside life, right? They're coming in thinking, my God, I've had a bad day. Let me just go to Games Workshop or this hobby store and just chill out and look at some beautiful models for a while, right? Or talk about this hobby that I love for a while. You don't know. And that's the main thing that I have to say to managers of all stripes. There needs to be a base level of empathy there. I know it's not easy, especially when you're having a bad day. But the minute you start giving customers that cold shoulder of... The minute you start developing a real loathing for the custom base, because you're just sick and tired of them, familiarity breeds contempt, of course, that's when your store fails. It fails the moment you do that for the first time. Okay? I know it's hard, but it fails. There's a very good reason why Tiz has mentioned that this store is pretty much empty, apart from him and his mother. By the way, him and his mother have driven for nearly 100 kilometers to get to the store. This is a big thing for Tiz, and it's being ruined by a manager who thinks that this is just some other run-of-the-mill customer. And I bet you, right, most managers who are in a bad mood or have done bad things to customers in the past, if they know you've travelled that far, they will automatically give you, like, a nicer welcome, you know? Anyway, he says, now I'm not the smallest guy, but I care for my hygiene and my grooming. So I hope at least that I wasn't a case of being just another rank neckbeard coming into his store. It's a shame, really, because as we stood in the front of the store, with the owner still outside, too, my mum asked if those thin-looking guys were the ones I also had, and collected, pointing to a small force of Necrons. The thin-looking guys, Necron, that's hilarious. Force of Necrons in the window. To which I replied, yeah, Necrons, Orcs, and those Space Marines too. So I'd be an easy mark of some nice models of any of the three factions, but no. I only had the guy breathing down my neck, checking I don't pocket an Imperial Knight or something, and making us feel more like an annoyance than customers willing to pay. I would have happily left with an entire army of either Knights or Marines, and even had the cash ready, but being basically pushed out of the store made me reconsider to rather spend my money at the local store instead. Which is an immense contrast to the other two nerdy stores we visited that day. One for board games and D&D related stuff, where the guy at the register even went to draw us a crude map of the city to show us where to go for some arts and crafts supply stuff, even before we made any sign of spending any money there. And a tiny model train store in a remote little village where the owner was a really nice and open older guy talking to us happily about this store, the city, and even asking my mother about her finger, which went crooked after she broke it a few years ago. You Euro people are strange. What is your finger? It looks very crooked. Can I have it? You know, just what? It's unfortunate that the store I was looking forward to the most was a massive disappointment. So I'm not going back to that store again. Maybe another one next time, as friends whom I've asked to get the mini of the month for me one time when the Votan were released told me they had a fantastic experience in their particular store. Thanks, Northern, for your videos, and have a great rest of your week. Cheers, man. Yeah, this is a clear example of talking your way out of sales. Literally talking your way out of sales. That's another thing that you're doing. I went with the empathy thing earlier on, just to make sure that, you know, customers are feeling nice and good about themselves and their hobby. But yeah, you have to remember as well, the more you treat people like dirt, you could literally have a guy who's a given, who's an absolute given, who comes into your store ready to drop $1,000 and sort your week out completely. He's going to drop $1,000 in a single day, but you treat him like shit, or you don't treat him like a customer should be treated, as in how Games Workshop actually treat their customers sometimes, and they walk away and they don't want to spend anything, right? It's just I don't know, man. I don't know. Even when I was being trained at GW, some of the stuff that we had to do for, say, upselling, was kind of disgusting. You know, they would give us question charts and yes ladders. They would even do yes ladders. If you don't know what a yes ladder is, it's asking somebody a question to which they will the answer will be a simple yes, right? And you do that 4 or 5 times throughout the conversation, and then ask them if they want to buy some models, and invariably their mind will already be switched on and open to saying, yes, of course I do, right? It's manipulation, yes, but it's still, they still use it. And also asking questions, so every single question that they would ask you, that they would tell you to ask, would be geared towards pushing a customer towards buying models, towards spending money in the store, which again was good and bad from a certain degree, because one, you're getting to know the customer and about their wants, needs and desires, but also you're kind of manipulating them and guilting them into buying models, which I really, really, really hated, and which is why when I left my job as a staff member and I became a manager, I dropped all that, right? I just dropped all that. Made decent money, didn't make anything above, like, you know, a gargantuan amount, but I made enough money to the store was profitable, it was fine, you know, like, and I had a really good time doing it, you know, and to this day, I feel if I'd have had the Games Workshop modus operandi of going in and asking good questions, like, quote unquote, as in questions that get you to buy models, and doing yes ladders and all this other neuro-linguistic programming bullshit, I still think I would have made, what, like 5% more, maybe? You know, was that really worth it? To annoy my customers and ruin my own day, my own fun of enjoying the hobby and enjoying my job? No, it's not. It's not. In fact, I think I made up that 5% by just being nice. But, you know, whatever. Dave says, and this person actually wanted to be called Dave, I'm not calling him it for no reason. Anyway. Hi, North. I've been looking forward to reading this one, by the way, because it's a D&D story, and I've not had this any ones like this for ages, and I've been craving this, so let's jump in. Hi, North. Enjoy the channel and the Hobby Nightmares stories, and just wanted to drop my story in about the mustard walrus. Not Warhammer related, though, although I have dabbled with my brother in the game, and when I say dabbled, I mean I collected 8 armies, which are mostly sad grey and not painted. Dude, get on that. Get on that. Have stepped away from Warhammer recently, as the manager at the store I usually go to feels like he is constantly trying to sell me shit. Well, there we go. We're approaching the theme of the video already. I know it's his job, but he is very over the top. Yes. Does he call you man a lot? Games Workshop managers will go, hi man, how's it going? I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, so what kind of models are you looking for, man? Are you looking for... And stop calling me man. Stop calling me man. Okay? Stop it. It's awkward. Shit. Also, take your hands out your pockets. You're standing there... Well, put both hands in your pockets and stand there really, like, nonchalant. Don't put one hand in your pocket and another hand outside your pocket as you're gesticulating. Dude, you're not an actor. You're not a paid actor. Stop doing that. It's awkward. You look like a mannequin. Stop it. Anyway... And as casuals, or temporary staff, whenever they are called, linger behind me whenever I am browsing, as though they want to hump my leg. I have jumped over to Battletech now, which is quite more enjoyable. Well, good for you, man. Well, good for you. I'm sorry that they drove you away. Anyway, on to the story. For years, I had always wanted to be a part of a tabletop role-playing game group. And not long out of high school, some friends of mine tried to play a bit of Dungeons & Dragons and Warhammer Fantasy roleplay, although due to uncommitted people, the group readily fell apart. Yeah, that's the worst, when you get people who are like lukewarm about it. The one thing that you learn in D&D and roleplaying is you only ever start a campaign when the people are totally, like, into it. You know, they're there and they're into it, you know? Anyway. Years later... My wife and I were running a game store/comic store for a year that unfortunately had to close, but glad we gave it a go. A few months out from the store closing down, it was a usual Saturday when I put the close for 15 minutes sign up and went to get some lunch. When I returned, a large dude was waiting by the door with an unkempt beard and a shirt that barely fit and a pair of track pants with a large hole in them. We will call him Steve. Yeah, okay. Steve became a regular in the store and was always happy to join gaming groups and be even hung back on Friday nights running RPG nights. I was happy to be a part of the game again, although the group fell apart once our store closed. Steve, though, had the worst odour I had ever smelt. One of my friends described it as like a belt sander stripping off my flesh. The smell was like month-old mustard, oh no, that had been left out in the sun and was starting to form its own ecosystem. Yeah. Steve seemed like the type of guy who knew everything about games. He memorised every rule for every game he ever played and would remember things in incredible detail when it came to discussing trading card games. He would quote rules on cards like, I remember card X in set Y from 2004, that card had this ability, etc, etc. My wife commented that Steve seemed to only enjoy games and his money went to games and wanted to, as a Christmas present, buy him some new clothes as he seemed to need them, given the hole in his track pants he always wore every weekend or Friday when we saw him. I said to my wife that he might take it as an offence, despite the good gesture that it may be. That's true, man, but at the same time, I'm going to regale you with a small story of a guy who came into my games workshop back in the day. And this guy stunk. Like, this guy stunk. I mean, stunk like a slab of meat that you buy from the butcher and you just leave it out in the sun for 3 days. That kind of stink. He would come in day by day, and one day I just snapped. I just had enough of it. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. So I asked him to come outside with me. Very quietly, you know. I went outside just to have a little, you know, to act like I was just looking up and down the street, having a bit of fresh air. And as he was walking past the door, I said, hey man, can I have a quick word? And he popped outside and I said, look, listen, you know, I don't know whether you know this or whether you've just come from the gym, right? Always say that, by the way, because then it makes it seem like they look quite fit, you know. I don't know whether you just come from the gym before you come in, but there is a smell, dude. I don't know whether you knew that. You know, and it's not really appropriate. It's not the kind of image I want the store to have. So do you want some, like... whenever I smell, I use the deodorant I've got behind the desk there. Because after every single lunchtime, because I'm walking to get my food and back, I am always sweaty. So I use that. Do you want some of that? And he looked crestfallen. And he said, I thought I was going to get smacked. He said, mate, thank you so much for that. I don't have a sense of smell. He said, I don't have a sense of smell, and I shower every other day. And I come here on a Tuesday and a Thursday on the days I don't shower. You know, so I'm really sorry about that. I have no sense of smell. I'll pop back in a minute. I'll be back in like 10 minutes. He went upstairs, because his flat was like a few doors down. He went upstairs, got a shower, came straight back, fresh pair of clothes on, and it was fine. And it was never an issue again. So you never know. You could actually be helping somebody out a lot by saying to them, look, you know, not being nasty about it, but saying, look, this is the standard, and you're going below the standard right now. Do you want some help? Right? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And if somebody gets offended by that, fuck them. Learn to shower, you sweaty bastard. You know what I mean? I don't understand that. It's embarrassing, yeah, but at the same time, dude, it was your decision to be a sweaty bastard. So, I don't want it in the store. I'm going to be very nice to you. I'm going to tell you all the things that you could do to solve that problem. If you're going to get offended by that, then leave. Don't be in the store. Because either way, my smell problem is solved. You know? Anyway. This guy also sounds autistic as well, by the way that you were talking about him memorising certain things. That is a big autistic trait, and that they have a very good analytical memory for things that they enjoy. I've often found that when I've taught autistic kids, they've remembered stuff that they enjoy. So if I make them enjoy things like the Battle of Hastings or the Byzantine Empire or things about Hadrian's Wall or Henry III or whatever, if I make it enjoyable, make it more like Game of Thrones, make it more like fantasy, they will enjoy it, and henceforth they will remember every single detail about what I've told them. If I dryly talk to them about history and context like that, and primary and secondary sources, they will remember shit all. Because they're autistic. That's just how their mind works. They're wired differently, right? This guy's seeming like one of those people. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, so far, Steve seems like a cool dude in terms of gaming, but someone who could use some help in personal matters. Yeah, we've all got a mate like that. We've all got mates like that. If you're in a hobby group of any kind, you've got a friend like that. My main issue with him was how he always had to be the one at the centre of the game. He always had to jump in and referee games, so to speak, even if the game wasn't owned by him or being demonstrated by him. There was a time my wife and I were playing a game in the store, waiting for customers, and he came in and just started refereeing it out of the blue. It was annoying, but I kept my mouth shut. On the flip side though, this also made him very good at teaching games, and whenever he explained something, I would understand exactly how to play within a very short period of time. Okay, cool. Cool, a good and bad thing. Steve and another customer would often engage in arguments. The other customer, I believe, had autism, and always wanted to be right when it came to arguments. Steve would not let any argument go, and at one... Sorry, I needed to yawn there. And at one point, I thought they would come to a physical fight in the store. Luckily, it de-escalated, but I could not believe an argument over which gaming system was better had almost come to a punch-up. Reminded me of high school in a way, when two guys got into a punch-up when comparing two cars, and arguing over which one was better. Fucking morons. After the store closed, I stayed in contact with Steve and was invited to some game days and nights with other people he knew. The more I hung around him, the more annoyed I became with him. I introduced my brother to him, and he had an instant dislike of him. I started a D&D group to which I invited Steve and some other guys to be a part of it, and I also asked my brother to come along. My brother started calling Steve the mustard walrus for his smell and large beard and moustache that reminded him of the tusks of the walrus from Alice in Wonderland. You know, the one that wears the top hat with the carpenter and they eat the crabs or whatever? Yeah, that guy. My brother never said this to Steve's face, of course, but he was like he was like some others who couldn't handle the smell and would often try to not sit next to him at gaming tables. One night, we were sitting at the table, playing, and my mother walks past the kitchen as she had some food cooking. Yeah, she probably thought the meat had gone off or something. Steve lets out a loud, purposeful sniff of the air by a "that smells delicious" line. Okay, cool. My mother offered him some, but you could tell by her demeanour was ice cold, like she felt compelled to. My wife grew to dislike him for the childish jokes he would make of a sexual nature, and then follow up with a, "well, we're all adults here," as though he knew she would say something if he didn't. Oh my god. Oh my god, this guy's got no self-awareness. I love him. This is going to make for such a good story. He's got absolutely no self-awareness whatsoever. Okay, continuing on. When we had still owned the game store, I used to do KFC runs for everybody in the RPG group. What a guy. What a guy. And write down what they wanted, taking cards and cash for the order. One night, the KFC forget some things, so I drive back and they give me another burger with the food they forgot to pack. Very nice of them. I return back to the store and they say, "Hey," and I say, "Hey, they gave us a free burger for the trouble," placing it on the table. Steve proceeds to pick it up with a, "Ah, okay," and places it in the lineup of the 2 burgers, 2 large chips, nuggets, and 2 Pepsis that he has before him, not asking anyone else if they wanted it. Yeah, man, that's autistic behaviour. I'm not like trying to say that you know, being autistic is bad. It's not. Like, it's just you're just wired differently. But yeah, that is autistic behaviour. I know several people who do shit like that. We've even had stories of people with autism doing exactly this, right? Saying, "Oh yeah, I'll have that, thanks," you know, and not even thinking about it. Anyway, I played miniature games with him, as well as picking him up and driving him all over the store. We played that with my brother and my dad. My dad was not into miniature games or RPGs, but did play military simulations on PC back in the day when I was a kid, so had some gaming experience. My dad had no interest in learning miniature games, but just wanted to hang out with me and my brother. He would sit there at the gaming table, asking questions, trying to understand what was happening. What a nice dad. What a nice dad, trying to get involved in the son's hobbies. Good. One day, Steve told me he thought my dad was annoying with all of his questions. When I told my brother this, he had the shits. My brother and I have a very joking relationship with our dad, who always gives it back to us, and as my brother always puts it, it's okay if we give him a bit of shit, because we're his sons and we grew up with him, but no one else should be saying anything. Fair enough, yeah. Another thing that really annoyed my brother is whenever we went into this gaming store, Steve would always go up to the counter and ask them, "What events do you have on?" Fair question, but he asked it every time we were in there, and the events never changed. It was like when I was in sales and the same people came in all the time asking what's on special or what's the price, and you were forced to smile and were like, "Same as last time you asked a week ago, fuckface," whilst gritting your teeth and watching them walk off not buying anything. Oh my god. Do you know what? That is the one thing, another thing of GW that I don't miss, is having a store and having people, you know, take up hours of your time and then not buy anything. There are two sides to every story. I know being dry humped into buying something is shit. Nobody likes it. But also, like, wasting somebody's time and then not buying a single thing that day, not even a pot of paint. Yeah, fuck those people. Those people would come in all the time and do that shit. I hated it so much. Anyway. And they would kind of get offended when they would come in for like the third time and try and get my attention for something and I wouldn't give it to them. Do you know what I mean? Like the third time they would come in and not buy anything but take up all of my time, asking me benign questions, and I would be like, "I'm a bit busy over here, or I'm a bit busy doing other things, but, you know, ask one of the other guys here, they can help you out, no problem." You know? They would, like, get pissy with me, or they would get, like, you know, there would be some sort of atmosphere, like, well, it's your job, why don't you do it? Well, it's not my job to talk to you, I'm sorry. It's my job to get sales. Okay? And I'm not going to dry hump you into getting sales. I'm not going to push you into it. I'm not going to force you into it. It's all up to you. If you want to buy something, it's okay. But at the same time, I can't spend 3 or 4 hours of my time in my workday talking to you about your hobby for you then not to buy anything, when there are other customers here who need help in selecting what they're going to get for their sons or their dads or their uncles or whatever, right? Yeah, it was just, there were people like that and they were annoying as fuck. Anyway. The one time the shop assistant had something going on Steve was interested in and took the time to explain it to us, he dismissed it and got the information wrong when we were back in the car, saying, "That's a weird way to play," and thought it was how the store promoted the play of this game all of the time. Even when I corrected him and said it was a one-off special event, not how they played it all the time, he didn't want to participate. I just wanted to say to him, you have bogged down this guy's life every single time we're in there. Now you should play the event that you signed up for. Yes, man. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Time vampires are the worst. The worst. At D&D, as D&D at my place was only every fortnight, I decided to join the RPG group that Steve was running, which was once a month. Long story short, I lasted my six sessions, if that. The character I played was an over-the-top assassin who would shoot first, ask questions later. I didn't do anything super crazy that would put others off their game, or try to kill or steal from party members or anything. I just really liked combat. Okay, fair enough. So you're not a murder hobo, you're just a murder person. Yeah, cool. Last session I attended, we are having our usual lunch break, eating at the table, when Steve says, "We have to talk about your character, dude," to me. To be honest, it felt like a bit of an intervention, like I was a guy with a drug problem or something. Then another jumped in after Steve was gone, giving it to me, saying, "Yeah, if your character tried that shit again, my character would put a bullet in his head," or something close to that. Sorry, me coughing down the thing there. I just lost my... You know when you get it in your throat, and there's like a really tickle in your throat and you can't like control it? Sorry. Anyway, hopefully I muted that, but I apologise if it's gone down your ear. Anyway, another guy said, yeah, if your character tried that shit again, my character would have put a bullet in his head, or something close to that. I can't remember exactly the wording. I was quite taken aback, and felt like I was just playing my character as he should be. An assassin who kills big bad dudes. Leaves the negotiating to others. Obviously, I had annoyed someone. Now, I was not pissed that they didn't like my character, or how I played him. It was how they went about it. A quiet word would have done the trick, not a full-blown intervention involving 6 people. I later asked Steve if someone had complained, and he was just like, no, just something had to be said, that sort of thing. My God. My God. A friend from work invited me to his group, which I'm still a part of, and is not filled with people with poor hygiene or interventions about my character. I have played similar style characters at times with this new group, and they have not said a word besides one time where the GM texted me and said, hey, your alignment should be A instead of B with how you're playing it, which was a fair call. Yeah, I've had to do that loads of times in D&D. It happens all the time. Alignments are pretty stupid anyway, but you know, that's for another day. I left Steve's group by saying I was moving on and didn't want a confrontation. I just wanted to slip away into the shadows and not have him at my house anymore or see him for miniature gaming, as I was super annoyed with everything that had come about, to be honest with you. Sorry, very anticlimactic end to the story. It's not, man. Like, by the time you get to this part of behaviours, when sometimes it's not one big blowout, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's one of those boring, listen, this is a straw that breaks the camel's back. I've had to do this a lot as well with friends at university and beyond, where they've actually been decent dudes. It's just been like a part of their personality where they've been toxic again and again and again and again and again. And there's one week where they're no more toxic than usual, right? But it's just the straw that breaks the camel's back, and you look like the bad guy because you're saying, no, man, I don't want to be around you anymore. And they're like, well, what have I done? And you're like, well, you're you. You know? Like, you're always being a dick. And yes, you didn't do anything completely beyond the pale this week, but, like, you do the same thing every week, and it makes me feel shitty, and I don't like being around it. You know? That's the worst. Those are the worst types. I would rather have a blowout with somebody. I would rather have a big argument with somebody and then say, right, I'm never speaking to that person again, get out of my life, right? Than have what normally happens, in that somebody is toxic and annoying and is an arsehole, but they're not so much of an arsehole that I can't be around them, because I do genuinely find them quite funny or interesting to be around, you know? But there comes a time where something just... So they just do something again, and you just feel like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. You know, there wasn't even a big thing that they did. I'm just done. And then you've got to explain it to all of your mutual friends. That's the worst part, where you're like, listen, I'm not going to be around this person anymore because of X, Y, and Z. And yes, what happened last time wasn't a big thing, but they keep doing it. It keeps annoying me, so I don't want to be around it anymore. That's the worst. It makes you look so petty when you're not. You've given that person chance after chance after chance after chance, you know? So don't worry about it. It's not anticlimactic. You did exactly what you should do at the end of the day. Let's be a big boy and decide who gets to share in your spare time and who doesn't. He says, in hindsight, Steve wasn't really a bad guy. I had forgotten to mention earlier, he had given me games he was no longer playing to keep a couple of times, which was super cool. However, I should have spoken up more when things were annoying me, or when he tried to stack in extra burgers into an already extensive queue, and that may have meant I wouldn't have had to put up with certain things, as lines would have been drawn. That is also true. That is also true. You're partly the architect of your own demise here. You can't expect somebody to change if you don't tell them, okay? You can't expect somebody to change if you don't say, hey man, listen, this kind of like isn't cool, and I don't really want that around me, you know, so do you mind not doing that? Nobody's going to change if they don't know, right? You've got to be fair. You've got to be fair. My wife saw Steve at the shops a few months ago, said he had lost a lot of weight and seemed a lot better. but he still pretended we lived out of, but she still pretended that we lived out of the area and were only visiting for the holidays. Anyway, keep up the good work, Dave. Okay, so it seems like he's getting his life back together slowly but surely. That's good. Excellent stuff. But yeah, I'm sure we've all been in this kind of anticlimactic situation before with people who just need a wake-up call in life, shall we say, you know? Anyway, I love you all a long time. Those are the hobby nightmares for the day. I hope I've entertained you on this Friday. I will be back probably over the weekend to do a Q&A, which is long overdue. I've got a few really cool questions for it now. That will probably be up on Sunday, and on Monday we'll be continuing with some more hobby nightmares, or I may do another 10th edition video, because there are more news coming out every single day that I haven't covered quite yet. So, love you all a long time. Speak to you then. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and have a wonderful weekend. See you later. Bye.